Hello.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. It's
It's
Amy
Friday.
here and Erin.
Hello.
Uh,
Hello.
how is everybody doing? It's been a week.
Yeah,
It's
it's been a
been a
minute.
week. It's been a week. Um,
It's been-
so what's new with you?
I just feel like I haven't stopped. I don't know about you, but I feel like, oh, you know what? I'm so glad you caught that, Amy, because I'm gonna quit
I know I heard my mail, so I hear my
my
mail,
being a
and I'm
thing.
like, I am going to shut down my mail so that I don't have
Sorry,
to hear
guys.
the ding. Sorry about that, guys.
There's another peek
Um,
behind the curtain.
yes,
Um,
real life.
I am good. I feel like, yeah, I don't know about you, but I feel like I haven't stopped. I feel like I have so much on the go.
Mm-hmm.
My weekends are just packed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I'm so, yeah, I'm so grateful to be busy and stuff, but I'm very excited for Alex and I are going away at the end of December, just to a
What?
little, we're going to like a little what are they called, tiny house,
Like a staycation?
a little staycation, yeah.
Oh, where?
And
Like in cottage
it has a
country or
hot tub,
something?
yeah, somewhere in like rural Ontario.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited,
Are you
so
gonna s-
I'm looking forward to like that.
and you
And
can
that's our
celebrate your
New Year's.
birthday?
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate it with my folks in Ottawa this year, which will
Okay.
be nice. Which will be really nice.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go, and then we're gonna do the whole New Year's thing in the tiny cabin
Oh,
or
that's
the
so
tiny
nice.
house. Yeah,
That's so nice. So
yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. That's like my end goal of life.
Just gotta chug on through and get to it.
Pause and
Get
the
to
rest.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hear you.
But how are you? Because you've been battling a bit of a cold, right?
Yeah, it's funny. So on Monday, my voice was getting a little bit hoarse. And I had a busy day. Like I recorded the weekly collective guidance and I did a couple readings. And I was, using my voice a lot that day. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because I'm talking so much. But the next day I woke up, I had no voice. Like literally my voice was gone. It was like I was croaking. I'm like, okay. And then came back a little on Thursday and then left again yesterday. Now it's here today. I've had a little bit of a cough, but otherwise I'm okay. I'm feeling like 85% better today. But it's funny, like it's not lost on me that the weekly collective guidance that I put out for Monday. So I do this every week. I channel guidance. If you follow me,
So if
you'll
you're
know
not
this.
following Amy,
If
you
you're
should
not
probably go
following
follow her.
and you want weekly guidance, I do this every Sunday or Monday. It used to be Sundays. It seems to be more Monday thing I do now, for the week. And a lot of the guidance that came up this week was about our voice.
Hmm,
Literally, like pulled
interesting.
swords, a card, the Seven of Swords, and yeah, it was all about kind of like the external energy might be a little bit overwhelming this week, and we might not have the clarity around, like, we might not have enough clarity to properly like interpret it and or respond to it.
Hmm,
And I was
yeah,
also
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
like a lot of pressure. So I felt like we were going to be feeling a lot of pressure, and other people are going to be putting pressure on us simply because they're feeling the pressure too. So it was a lot of guidance around like, just kind of like, be quiet this week if you can, like, or
Hmm.
don't try not to react, but rather respond. And sometimes we cannot do that because we don't have all the pieces. So it was not lost on me that the day after I channeled this guidance, I lost my voice. I was like, okay, spirit, I know that you know that I talk a lot and I'm a rambler, but seriously. So yeah, twice.
There was like, this is also for you too. Here
Yes,
you go.
zip your lips this week. So, and now that my voice is back today, on podcast recording day, I'm assuming that I have their blessing. But it was
Thank you
just very
guys.
funny,
Thank you.
very very funny. So yeah, but I'm good. I'm ready to go. I
Yeah.
actually, like, while we're getting started, I felt very called,
Mm, I'm
as we like
excited
to
for
say,
this.
to pull a card for us for this podcast. I guess it's like a little bit of guidance for us. The
Yeah,
universe
whoever's
wants me to give it.
listening, and yeah.
Somebody needs to hear it. So it's from the Soul's Journey lesson cards. So we all have, you know, lessons here. A lot of them are collective, so we're all learning them together. But then,
Mm,
when I pull one of these, say in a reading, it would be more that, oh, that one popped out. More that this theme, this lesson is showing up in this person's life a lot right now, but because I'm doing this for the collective, this is for all of us. And so this card basically just popped on out of the deck. So if you're somebody that has cards, if it pops on out, it's extra. We need to hear it.
Take it.
Take it. The card that comes up is freedom.
Ooh.
Okay, and it says,
I got chills.
I got chills, yeah.
Right
I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. So I'll just read quickly from the guidebook rather than interpreting. Your soul is open to receiving new wisdom and insights that will allow it to make the right choices for its own growth. Remember, you are never a victim of other people or their circumstances. You have complete control over your own choices. By following your heart and being authentic to yourself, you present the real you to the world. Making decisions based on other people's expectations is not the true path to happiness. You are responsible for creating your own reality. Now, the reason that is so validating to the weekly collective guidance is because it literally was about us feeling pressure, and that other people may be pressuring us too, and that there was we're just this heaviness of expectation right now, and nobody really knows what to do with it all. Like, we're kind of sitting in this in-between stage. Do you know what I mean? Where we're we're not back where we were, and we're not quite where we're going. We're kind of in the transition. And so we might be feeling stuck. So this card is really just to encourage that we might feel stuck, but we're not. Like, we do have freedom of choice. And sometimes the freedom comes from an awareness. Mm-hmm. I don't have all the pieces to give a proper response. I don't have all the pieces to give a proper decision. I need some time.
And that's okay.
Yep. Yes. Yep. So it's really about taking your power back this week.
I love that.
We have freedom, and I know that a lot of things are happening in the world, and we won't get political or talk about it, but there's a lot of stuff happening in the world in which people are not feeling free. Okay, so I think this card is maybe touching on that too. So whatever that means for you, take it as encouragement. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I love that. And it's such a good reminder, right? Because I think sometimes we forget, or sometimes we feel like, there's certain obligations or things that we need to do, and I'm such a strong advocate for this. I shouldn't say good, because I need reminders myself, but that it's really important to take those pauses.
Absolutely.
It's important to take that time, because you're not going to do anybody any good if you're, rushing into it head on.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that I said, in the guidance that from Monday's video was also about, this example, like if somebody's pressuring you to make a decision or to do something now, and you don't feel, within reason, obviously, but you don't feel like you have all the information that you need to proceed. I was like, because the energy this week, that person that's asking you probably also feels pressured from somewhere else, right? And so by you maybe just saying very honestly, like, hey, look, I just really don't feel like I have all the information. Could I sleep on this and get back to you tomorrow? Or even being vulnerable, and because that is vulnerable by saying that. I don't feel confident in this decision. Or moving forward, can I sleep on it? It's actually like giving that other person a little bit of freedom as well to lessen some of the own pressure that they're feeling, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So if somebody's pressuring you, they're also feeling pressured by something, right? It's a domino effect. So that just kind of calls for that vulnerability. I think people will be understanding this week, especially if you need a little bit extra time. So don't feel... And I know that we're giving this at the end of the week, and this won't be posted until the weekend, but I do feel like this is just good advice in general, like this, in general. And certainly the energy probably could be going into next week too.
I know I need to hear this, so this is great.
Yeah, right. So, and we're now in Sagittarius season. Sagittarius is about expansion, right?
Ooh, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's about expansion. So if we think about, maybe this is this purposeful pause in which we gather all the information we need so that we can expand.
Yeah.
We sleep on it so that we come at it tomorrow ready to expand. Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Ah,
Just honor your truth, guys. You are no better authority for you than you. So, just know that. Erin and I are definitely advocates of that. That's what this whole podcast is about, really.
yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah. I think
I
so.
love that so much.
I think so. Well, I think about it. Somebody was asking me about what the podcast is about, and I'm like, well, Erin and I are both like people that like to empower other people, and especially when it comes to spirituality, because spirituality has made such a positive impact in our own lives.
Yes. Yep.
So, we know that it can make a positive impact in other people's lives by them trusting their own inner authority, and like knowing that they're co-creating their life, like there's more, and I just feel like it's such a positive thing. And so by kind of breaking down spirituality and making it more relatable, others are more apt to do that, because something I often hear from people, my clients and people that, follow me is, like, I know that you're so happy and you're so, your life is enriched because of your spirituality, but I am terrified of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the reason for this brainchild, like for this podcast.
I think,
yeah.
100%.
Let's take the fear out of it.
Yeah. Let's bring it back down to earth a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the fear.
I was going to say, this is a really great segue.
Yeah.
To what we wanted to talk about.
We don't even plan this. It just comes on out, right? Yeah.
Which is so great, which is about mediumship, spirituality, life after death, even portrayed in the movies and on TV.
Yeah.
That, what you see on TV, it does not happen like that. Not always, right? I mean,
no.
There's, certain things I can kind of think of, like, I think of automatically like The Sixth Sense, which we were both just talking about how we love that movie.
Yeah.
I do love that movie. I think it's a good portrayal.
Yeah.
Of it, but unlike young, I forget the actor's name.
I can't remember his name either.
Joe. I don't know. It's not important.
I don't remember.
Young him.
Yeah.
So sorry to that actor. I don't think you do either. Spirit right in front of us every day.
No.
Talking to, never really. I've told them I don't want to see them. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's more of a feeling.
Yeah.
Right. It's more of, it's telepathic communication.
Mm-hmm. And it's the energy you're feeling, which we all feel. Yeah. We all know what it feels like to walk into a room and go, yeah, no, I'm going to back out of here. Danger, right?
Absolutely. Or
right.
We
all know it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. When you feel, something's not right here.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint it, but something's not right. I think the best example I can give of that is, and I'm sure other people have had similar experiences, but I was seeing this guy, obviously before Alex, and and this person had shown nothing to me, which would indicate that they wanted to end the relationship. Mm-hmm. But something was telling me, I was like, something's going to end. Like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And like literally the next day came and ended it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, it doesn't always work like that, but trust those feelings that you're feeling.
Yeah.
With things in general, I think, at least. And
that's actually brings me to a point that I think might be a good thing to talk about, because it's something that I'm asked about often, and actually ties into the fear or the mistrust in one's own intuition and their feelings.
Yes.
And it has to do with, like, how do I know it's my intuition or it's my anxiety? And as somebody
how do I know it's spirit?
How do I know? Right? How do I know it's my higher self? All of these things. And so as somebody that's lived with anxiety my whole life, I totally understand this. And I had to learn this for myself, because I confused and blended the two so many times. But I think a good rule of thumb, and this is from my experience and my opinion, you might differ, but is that when something comes in from spirit or from your higher self, it's going to come in kind of like fact, probably not with a whole lot of emotion, just kind of like, like for instance, you leave your house and you're like, all of a sudden you get this feeling where you're like, oh, I think I left the curling iron on. And it's just like, you left your curling iron on, like turn around. It's just like a fact, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a knowing.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. Whereas it's like, oh my God, what if I left my curling iron on? And now I'm imagining the house burning down. I'm imagining all this stuff. That's
Fear.
That's fear. That's anxiety. So, and I know this is a hard one, and I feel like it's something that people have to actually put into practice for themselves. Because I know me, I'd be like, but what if that one time I don't turn around when I have the fear, my house actually burns down, right? So it's just about, I don't think anybody's going to like immediately like get to the place where they always trust that difference. It's more about the more times that you do trust, okay, this came in like an inner knowing. Oh, this comes in with a lot of fear. So it's probably my anxiety. So I'm not going to do anything. The more times you do that and you see for yourself, it'll be easier for you to trust.
It's easier for you. And I would just add to that, and I don't know if you agree with it or not, but to trust your body. When I'm in fear mode, my body is giving me butterflies and I'm like reacting. My body is reacting. When I know it's spirit, I just feel kind of at ease. Like I don't feel those butterflies. I don't feel that, feeling of maybe nausea sometimes, which is what happens.
And I'm a little different because I actually do feel energy in my body sometimes, and it feels like anxiety.
Oh yeah, no, and I would agree with that too. I would agree with that too.
So maybe it depends. So, but for me, when I feel spirit close by and I start to feel kind of like the butterflies are a little bit like my stomach is upset, it only happens though when I'm about to do a client session. So I'm about to connect to people that aren't connected to me.
Excuse me, yeah.
Whereas if I'm connecting to somebody, if my intention is to connect to somebody for myself in spirit or to my higher self, I don't experience those feelings. So it's more like other energy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Good point.
Yeah. I don't know if you experience that. I just know, because this is a very personal thing. Not everybody's going to experience energy the same way in their body.
No, yeah. Find too, if I'm like pretty nervous before reading, that also means the person is feeling nervous in some.
Yes, we can feel it. I think we talked about that a little bit a couple episodes ago about I could feel the fear. So I knew it wasn't just I am like nervous, excited. I am terrified. I can feel that. You can feel that. Yeah.
There's a difference, right, between nervous, excited and feeling like terrified or worried or, right? You can sometimes you can differentiate the two. You can kind of.
Yes. This is all about, like, I know the word discernment is like talked about a lot, especially in spiritual circles, but it really is about discernment, and only you can know what that feels like for you. Like, it's a personal thing where you feel into things and then you're able to differentiate them.
Yeah.
And then you take that and I know trust I think comes a little bit after you do it a few times, but you take action with whatever that discernment is, or you follow through with it. And then what happens, and I know this has happened in my life, especially with like learning that I was a medium or discovering that it was like, okay, something's coming in. It's not like I'm seeing spirit with my eyeballs, but I feel, I was just thinking about this yesterday, actually. I guess it was like it probably was about 4 years ago now. I was talking to somebody on Facebook, like in Facebook Messenger, and one of her parents had passed away like the year previously. And we were talking about how we had both lost our parents. I lost my dad and she lost her mom. And all of a sudden I was like, hey, this is really weird, but like, did your mom ever, and I said something and she's like, where did that come from? And I was like, I don't know. And so I was like, is it okay? And she's like, yeah. And neither of us knew what was happening. And so this stuff started to come in, and like even like I was like, I think I can smell laundry soap. Like, were you just doing the laundry? And like, did you find a dime on the stairs on the way going back up the stairs from the laundry room? And she's like, what the heck? And I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. Like, I don't know. Like, that
Yeah.
was the first time it was like super clear like that. And so for me, it was just rather than brushing it aside, which I would have
Yeah.
every other time something like that happened in my life.
Yeah.
This is why I believe in divine timing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
You were like, I
there's
have to go into
something,
this.
there's something here. And it probably had to do a little bit with my dad passing, because I often say that was the catalyst, his loss. So it probably had to do with, if this is this possible? Am I doing this? If so, I want to do it because I want to connect to my dad.
Yeah.
And I want, and it brought that person so much comfort, even though we like didn't know what was happening. That I was like, I want to give that to somebody else. And so it's just me like taking a chance and then going, okay. And like the next time, I think I practiced on some friends or something. I was like, hey, like, this is like, I'm not saying I can do this. Like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it happened again. And it's like your confidence just keeps getting built and built and built. And you're like, okay, every time I do this, I'm like, I am getting accurate information.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Like it's
And
just,
and I think that's it too, because a lot
Yeah.
of it, you'll hear a lot of mediums too say, be confident in what's coming through, because that's also how it flows in more easily, to folks that are trying to tune in themselves to their own mediumship
Yes.
or their own abilities to connect to spirit.
and it's true.
It is true.
It's
Oh
true.
yeah.
And it's so we were just talking about this earlier too, before we hit play, record. Last night I was watching a Christmas movie with my kids. So there's this new movie on Netflix called A Boy Called Christmas. And I watched it with my kids, and I won't give any spoilers. But there's this part in which, somebody says, in order to see it, you need to believe it.
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, that's true. And it kind of leads me into this conversation I have sometimes. I think it's okay to like mention my mom. I'll like see if she gets mad at me later, but
Let's test the waters out here.
Sometimes like when I feel something from my dad, or like for me, I find a lot of dimes or there's heart shapes, and then I also sometimes channel messages from him, but I don't like purposely connect to him a lot. I just kind of leave it up to chance. But when something does come through, or when somebody else brings something to me about him and I share with her, there's often this feeling like, or she'll say something like, oh, I wish he would come through to me. And I'm like, he does. He does. You're his spouse. He comes to you more than to me, I promise. But because I am so like from my experience, I'm fluent in like how to piece these things together, and then I trust it 100%. That's the only difference here. The only difference. And so when I heard that quote last night, like, in order to see it, you need to believe it. I feel like there's truth to that too. And I feel like that also touches into like when I talked about on episode 2, how I had read somebody, I gave a reading experience for those who haven't heard it, in which we kind of discussed the differences between being completely closed off from fear, being nervous, excited, or being completely open. And how when you're fearful, it feels like the sink is clogged. Right? Like I'm getting stuff, but it's not like a conversation. It's a little bit more choppy. And I think that has to do with the other person, like the client, and how much they believe it. And that's why I start off with evidence. So you're an evidential medium too, Erin, right? So somebody asked me the other day, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? And then I think that it's probably the same for me, but
I think it's just showing, well, for me, it's been about showing things that have either recently happened around them or things that are upcoming.
Yeah.
Such as, sometimes they'll be like, oh, are we celebrating something? Is your birthday coming up? One time I gave a reading, and I think it's okay to share the story. I won't give their names, but and at the end, very end of it, I said, "Are you guys going to Canadian Tire after?" Which is a hardware store here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I was looked at with, and I tell them that I gave them the same couple reading recently, and I said, I think that is the most coolest thing. That's, one of them,
Yeah,
the
because
neatest
it's so clear.
experiences, because it's so clear. So it's something that they're either going to be doing, something that's happening here
Or they
on Earth,
just
and they
did.
were going
Yeah.
to Canadian Tire, so I should say
Yeah.
that they were right after this.
Yeah.
So something that they can validate,
Yeah.
or evidence about their loved one, such as maybe a specific color of shirt,
Yeah.
that maybe they have of
A
theirs,
memory.
a memory,
Mm-hmm.
seeing a photograph.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like all those, it's the
Yeah.
little details that resonate with that person.
And are usually very, very specific. So
Very
that's why I
specific.
call so the reason that I call myself this how I came about this was when I had lost my dad and saw a medium. I didn't always get what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have to be fair. It's not that the person didn't like do a good job. It's that I had very high expectations. I mean, that's what I feel like a lot of people do when they sign up for a client, and rightly so, right? But
Yeah.
as long as
Yeah.
you know everything that comes through is in your highest good, and you're meant to know what comes through. But I had been like, I love all these messages and this guidance and this love that's coming through, and it does make me feel good. Like I can feel the energy, but I want you to be super specific. I want you to give me a smell. I want you to talk about a childhood memory. I want you to talk about something that he enjoyed doing, or something about his voice, or something that tells me it's him. And I didn't always get it. And so when I put the pieces together that I could do this, one of the things that, because I think that this work is all about intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I set my intention to do this work, I asked very clearly from the spirit world, from my higher self, I will do this, but I want to provide my clients with evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I start with it. I always start it bleeds in through the whole reading, but I start with evidence, because then they're like I did a reading the other day, and I'm sure it's fine because I'm not going to, obviously nobody would know who I'm talking about except for the person that had the reading. But I said, I keep seeing there's a reference to jewelry, and then I'm seeing like blue velvet. And I said, is there like a blue velvet jewelry box or what? And she just kind of like laughed, and I was like, okay, like, let me just keep going. And I was like, now I just keep seeing, like somebody vacuuming, or like the vacuum, when you vacuum and you see the lines in the carpet. And she like laughed, and she's like, the person that you're connecting to in spirit gave me something, a piece of jewelry in a blue velvet jewelry box, and I can't find it, but the place where it was right next to my vacuum. And I was like, oh, okay. But that's what I mean by evidence. That's validation. That's evidence. And also the thing that she had asked for silently in her mind before we connected was, if you're really here, talk about this jewelry box, because I can't find it and I want to find it. So as soon as I brought it up, I'm getting chills as I say it. As soon as I brought it up, she was like, oh, I asked for that. I asked if this was real for them to talk about that.
Yeah,
and so once you do that, then when you get to the like, here's some guidance from your loved one, here's some loving words from your loved one, that sometimes can feel more general, like they could be for anybody, not always, but if you have the evidence first of the specifics, the person is going to go like, okay, like it's going to feel more real when the guidance comes in. So, sometimes you see things on TV and they're like, oh, your father loves you. He's so proud of you. You're doing such a good job. And it's like, yeah, okay, but anybody could have told me that, and I'm not like discounting that, because there's a lot of value, like if that's extremely comforting, right? But if you don't have that concrete stuff beforehand, me personally would have a harder time trusting it. Even though I do this work.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. But I feel like after you have the experience with like a medium and they bring you all that, like you're probably like way more trusting of every reading after the fact anyways, because they've already demonstrated. And that's not to say that you should test your medium. It's just to say like,
yeah, because then it won't happen.
it
Like,
won't
I've had
happen if it's a test. You know, if it's a
like
test,
that.
I've had it too, and it's not fun when somebody goes,
No.
I brought through like all of this stuff, and their spouse was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I could hear their spouse in the background saying, yeah, that's all right. And then the person though that I was reading for was like, well, I'll believe you if you could tell me this. And I was like, hold up. Like, this is not a 1-800 call me now Cleo situation. Like, I'm not in charge here. They are.
Yeah.
Like, they've given you all this stuff and now you're no. I didn't like it at all.
No.
But
I mean, I would agree with what you're saying for the most part, and I'd
Yeah.
say that I was always told by another medium, and I take it. I take it to I take it with me because I think there's truth to it. Where I was told, don't worry so much about providing proof necessarily
yes.
for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's needed, and I think when it is needed, I think I think
You
it
get
comes
more of it.
through.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes I think when it's not needed, that some of the specifics that they want, even though maybe I'm giving specifics like I'm connecting to a birthday or
Yeah.
things that are maybe a little bit more general, they maybe they want more, but I don't always get it, and I think there's something to it that you're not going to always get. And
You're
that
not going to
sounds
always
so-
get
that
what you
sounds
want,
pretty
but you're going to
harsh.
get what you need. Right? Let's
You're
talk
gonna
about
get
the
what you
Rolling Stones
need.
song.
That's what it is. Don't
Yeah.
worry. It was like, don't worry so much about, because I was always like, I want people to believe. I want them to believe.
Yes.
Like, I know that this is real. Like, I've had so many experiences in my life. I remember telling with like things that we shared like on the first podcast about,
Yeah.
experiencing all this paranormal phenomenon. I remember telling my teachers after like going to school and being like, I believe in life after death because
Me
I've seen it.
too. I was the same kind of kid.
You know, say, we should. Why were we 10 years apart? We should have gone to
I
school
know. We should have been best buddies. We grew up in opposite parts of Canada and we're 10 years apart. So it wasn't going to happen, but it was divine timing now. But no, I was the same
Yeah.
kid. I was 8 years old and knew in my bones that there was life after death.
Yes.
100%. I knew
Right?
it. I knew it. Without anybody telling me it, without anybody, not being exposed to it, knew it. Yeah, I think you're making up an important point. It's not about proving.
Yeah.
It's more just
Yeah.
about like, I personally set my intent to connect to evidence-based information at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And like sometimes it's super evidence heavy what comes through, and that I just trust that just is what the person needs in this time. Sometimes it's less. I trust it's what the person needs at the time. They're always happy.
Yeah.
Scientist is always happy, so I feel like they're getting what they need. And I always say, like, I'm not in charge here. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's another piece with the anxious piece, right? Like, I've shared that I've been an anxious person, and I'm like, the ultimate test. Put an anxious person in this job. It's like the universe is like, here, Amy. You're like terrified of what other people think, and you're anxious, and you always want to make everybody happy, and you always want to control a situation. We're gonna stick you in a situation where others may project things on you that you're like the answer to their prayers in some way, and
Yeah.
you're not in control of any of it. So have fun. But
What a
that's
sense of
taught me
humor,
so
right?
much. That is
But it's
exactly what I needed.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't have to force and control
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Crap. I don't have to force and control anything, and it happens
You just have to let
when
it
I
be.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Like I notice a difference. And that's why I try to make sure, because in the past I've noticed a difference with my own energy, and when I give readings, like if I'm having an off day,
Yeah.
not that reading is off, but I need to really put in the energy.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
You
it
gotta
takes a
amplify.
lot out of me.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's why I always like try to, like in the past like years, I've just tried to really make sure I'm like listening to music. Like, that helps get me in the zone, or I need some, I need to like,
Movement.
I need to hone in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or am I going off
Yeah.
topic?
No, I think that's intention too. No, I think people like that we go off on a tangent. I'm hoping so.
We
That's what
were
I'm
talking
hearing.
about movies, but here we go.
Yeah, no, we're just letting the conversation evolve as it wants to.
Yeah.
But I think that goes to talk about intent again. I think everything comes back to intent when you're talking about this word or world in
Yeah.
general. In general, I think intent means a lot in this world. But in this particular field, I think it's major. So it's like you sitting down and intending to raise your energy. I need to
Yes.
raise my energy. This is
Yeah.
my intention. Okay.
Yeah.
And it happens, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, but no, but also being able to discern, because I've had occasions where I'm like, I don't know if today's a good reading day for this reading. I have a
Yeah.
feeling like it might not be. And then I might push it anyways. And then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have, because for whatever reason, like maybe I half an hour before I get sick or like whatever, I'm not feeling well. So I've learned to
Yeah.
trust that. And you know what's amazing about that is that anytime, so I don't reschedule very often, but anytime I've ever rescheduled,
Yeah.
the person's like, oh my God, we're on the same wavelength, because I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to be rushing. And then I have to do this, or my kid's sick, or this, or this, or this. And it's like, it's perfect that
Yeah.
you needed to
Yes.
reschedule. Or I've
Yeah.
also had the occasion where I've rescheduled on a person and I had been like booked up for like, a month or 6 weeks or something. So I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can try to squeeze you in like sooner on like an off day, because I want to make up for the fact that I'm rescheduling with you. Or you can wait until this next available date. And the person was like, next available date is fine, which was like 6 weeks away. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I
Okay.
wonder
Yeah.
what that's about. And then we did the reading, and after the read, like 6 weeks later, we did the reading. After the reading, she said, so the date you gave me to reschedule 6 weeks in the future was my loved one's birthday. So I took it as a
Oh.
sign that he
Oh.
wanted us to do it on his birthday. And I'm like, there you go. Like, that's just about trusting. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
And that
No, it's true.
happens so often
Yeah.
that it's just, yeah, it blows my socks off. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. Like, how can you not? Like, I just love even like little things like that. I love it. I love it. I
It's,
love it. I love it.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about paranormal stuff. Like, you talk
Oh
about
yeah.
paranormal stuff. Yeah.
I've been hearing the name Sam everywhere. Like
Recently, or
for the
like your whole
past,
life? Okay.
no, for the past, I would say couple of months.
Okay.
And it's just, and it, talk about spirit, like trying to get in your face, right? Like,
Yeah.
of like, Erin, like, even showing a medium, like, here it is, and not,
Yeah.
not believe it. Needs to happen a little bit more.
Yeah.
But even in movies, books, TV shows, a Sam gets mentioned. And I mean, it's a generic name. I mean, no, sorry, no offense to Sam's.
No, but it's like common. It's common.
It's a common name,
Yeah.
is what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
not generic. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You have a generic name. I'm kidding. But I've just been hearing Sam everywhere, and I think it's a guy. I think it's a spirit guide.
It's a feeling you have about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even in readings, I'm like, yeah, Sam. You're like,
Maybe
no.
Sam's there for you.
And I think Sam is there. I've had so many times of that. Even
Yeah.
where I feel like I have, because I even feel like sometimes I have my loved ones popping through,
Yeah.
and they're like, they say their name to me, but it's not for the person. It's for me to know, Erin, I'm
That's
here
happened to
to
me
help you
too.
too. Right?
Where I'll get somebody, like, I think this happened the other day where I was like, last week. It happened last week. I did a reading and I saw my grandfather, who is in spirit, but when he
Yeah.
was younger. So I saw his mustache, and I saw he had this like really dark, almost black hair. And it was like, like it, that 1940s kind of hairstyle. And I was like, what are you doing here? But he was a lot like, I thought of him a lot like my father. And so I described what I was seeing, and I was like, she's like, that's my father. So it was that they looked a lot alike.
They
So
look alike.
afterwards, she sent me a picture of him, and
Yeah.
they looked a lot alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what spirit does too. They'll give us things that like we know we can resonate with, and we're meant
Yes.
to give it to that person. So it's even if I see my brother, who's named Chris,
Yeah.
it's not so much
It could be brother, or
my
it could be the
brother.
name.
It could
Yeah.
be brother, or it could be
Yeah.
the name.
Yeah.
Or it could be both. I've had it be both before.
Yeah.
Is your brother named Chris?
Yeah.
Yes. You know?
Yes. Yeah. No, yeah, no, I believe
Yeah.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think some of these, like, just to circle back to like TV shows and things that we see on TV, I think there is truth to it. I mean, I think, I don't know, are we allowed to name names like Teresa Caputo
Yeah, I think so.
and don't sue us. Tyler Henry.
We're not going to trash talk her, but
We're
maybe
not
just
trash
like
talking.
no, like I think she's actually a
think there's
talented medium.
Yeah,
I
I do
do.
too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think because it's TV, I think, and you hear this all the time, like even like I watch paranormal shows,
Everything on TV.
ghost
Yeah.
shows. They even you hear them on podcasts, and they're like, well, you have to sort of dramatize certain things.
You wouldn't watch it.
You
You
wouldn't
wouldn't watch it if it was like a medium sitting there seeing everything in their third eye in their head going,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Like it wouldn't be a TV show.
it wouldn't be a TV show. Like
Yeah.
I would watch sometimes. He's like, I think there's a show called there is a show called Ghost Hunters,
Yes.
and one of the people was saying like, it's sometimes we go in and nothing happens, and so that whatever half an hour clip that you see, that's what happened in the span of like
The whole day.
the whole
Or the whole
day
week.
and night,
Yeah.
the whole week. Yeah, because they're there for consecutive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's yeah, I think that's kind of what it is, and I will say that not every medium is the same.
Intentions are different.
Intentions are different, and it really is. And you're so right when you said it, because I've heard you talk about this too. It's about finding the right medium for you.
Yeah. I've heard somebody say this before, like there's a medium is like, I think, I can't remember the wording, but it was something like a medium, there might be like a medium that's not for everyone, but there is a medium for everyone. Like
Yeah.
there is a medium that you will
That
jive
you
with,
will
that you
jive with.
will like, you'll probably be like, you'll probably be drawn to them for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I've had people go, I just randomly, you came up randomly on Facebook. Like I wasn't even
Yeah.
looking for this. You
Yes.
just came up and I was like,
I was
okay.
Googling.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that we are Googleable?
Yeah.
I just think that's kind of wild. Like recently, few people will be like, I found you on Google. I'm like, how'd you find me on Google? Really?
It's funny
thought
you
I was,
say
like,
that
way
because
back.
no, it's funny you say that because I literally just asked my business mentor like last week, because one of my clients was like, I want to leave you a review, but I don't want to leave it on Facebook because I don't really use Facebook anymore. Do you have Google reviews? And then I was like, no. So then I asked my business mentor and she's like, oh yeah, like you just have to literally like just put your business on Google and then there's a place for them to review. So I haven't created, yeah, maybe that's universe's way of telling me to do it.
Yeah.
But I know we are Googleable anyways, even without that, because
That's true.
right?
It's true.
You
can
search
find
for a
anybody now,
medium.
which is scary.
I know. I say all the time, I know I'm 10 years older than you, but I still say like, thank God I went through my teens and like most of my 20s. Because I think I was 26 when Facebook came out, and I was like one of the early adopters. Like as soon as it was available to the public, I was like, it was like 2006. I was 26, and but I had gone all that, like all my early 20s doing all my crazy things and all my teens with no social media, and thank God for that. Yeah.
I was 18 when I got a cell phone.
Okay.
18. My parents
I think I was older than that. I had a pager, Erin.
A pager.
I had a pager, and then I had to go to the payphone.
Well, if you didn't feel 10 years older to me, though, you definitely feel 10 years older.
Oh, I grew up. I was a teen, like literally from 93 to 99. Like that's 13 to 19, right? So I was like right in that. But yeah, like.
Good
I think
time.
there were cell phones, but I didn't have one. I didn't know anybody else
weren't
that had
they big?
one. They were huge. My first cell phone was smaller,
Why would
but
you have a big cell phone?
21,
Yeah.
maybe 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got by on my pager and my payphone.
Yeah, and I just, now you see everybody's got like the kids and they've got all their cell phones. I don't think it's necessarily
It's not
a
a
bad
No.
thing. I think we have to move with it as opposed to push against it, because technology is just going to keep now this is a rant, but technology is going to keep
It's not
evolving.
random because I actually I read something where in which people talked about how about magic and energy and how like, you know, 50, 60 years ago, people would have never, but they would have been like, that's crazy. What do you mean you can talk to somebody on a phone? You can see their
Yeah.
face and they live in like New Zealand and you're in Canada and you can talk live. Like they would be like, that's like some sort of witchcraft, right? But here we
Yeah.
are. Here we
Well,
are.
did you know? I think I I'm gonna have to find some truth to this because I feel like I remember doing research on this back like on the spiritualist movement,
Hmm.
um, which happened during World War
Like the
Two,
the early 20s, right? Ish.
early
Wasn't there a little bit in
20s.
the 1800s too?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
I have a
I think it's been
book.
everywhere. But the radio was invented specifically as like a way to connect to spirits.
What? I like, excuse me, my long blinks. What?
I
Pardon?
mean, I don't know,
Really?
was it the telephone, or there was because the spiritual movement, I think, was so rapid and growing, and mediumship was like, literally, you'd go on stage, you'd go to shows and you'd see
Yeah.
mediums on stage, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they were like, some of them were like the celebrities back then,
Yeah.
and some of them fakes, right?
Oh yeah.
But just like today.
There's fake, just like today. There's fakes in every field.
Yeah.
There's people that are like not
Uh,
doing it for the right intentions in every
yeah.
field, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was invented to as like another way to like see if they could reach the other side. Well, maybe not specifically. I have to find it. I'm gonna find it because I
Yeah,
definitely
I'd love
remember.
to hear that. It's interesting because just last week, so I was reading a book, like a Christmas book, and it was, you know, not based on a true story or anything, and it was set in Edinburgh. And then I was reading, so this is what happens in my brain, okay? This is me. I will Google something, so I Google Edinburgh. And so I'm
Yeah.
on Wikipedia reading about it. And then you know how there's like links you can click on in Wikipedia. So then I click on like notable people from Edinburgh. And then one of them was Alexander Graham Bell. So then I read about him and then I read about all about the telephone and all about his life and
Yeah.
how he actually like moved to Canada, moved to like I want to say Brantford, which is now like known as the telephone city or something in Ontario, and
Yeah.
then went to the States and then had a summer home in Nova Scotia, which is where I'm from. And he passed away in Nova Scotia. But I was going down the rabbit hole and reading all the stuff. And anyways, I was reading about the telephone there too. And how insane that must have felt for them in that time period. Like,
Yeah.
and even there's like a clip on Wikipedia if you go to Alexander Graham Bell's page, where you can listen to his voice from back then, from like a
Ooh,
communication.
that's
But
really cool.
yeah, like these are the kind of things that my brain does. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
down
I
the
mean,
rabbit hole.
I have an article. I'd have to find a little bit more information, so
We can talk about
please
it
don't
next
take
week.
my
We'll
word
leave
for it.
people hanging.
But yeah, there's an article written by. Anyways, I don't know. We'll see. But it looks like it's credible. I don't know how to judge it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anyways, but it does say something about historians typically. Hang on, where was it?
We'll preface by saying everything is in our opinion or our experience.
Yeah,
Okay? Yeah.
historians generally agree that the rise of spiritualism was closely linked to the development of new media technologies in the 19th century.
Interesting.
This is by.
Probably
Can I
like,
say who it's by? I don't know.
yeah, if you want to. Or we can like link the article or
We
something.
can link the article and see if what folks say, by Anthony Enns.
Okay. It's
Written in
interesting. I can see
2015.
so that they did coincide like around the same time. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, like who knows what came first.
What came first?
But
Yeah.
yeah, but maybe like once the telephone was developed, it was like, okay, I can talk to you across the ocean. I wonder if I can like tap into something else, right? Like maybe, yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
everything evolves like this, right? It's like this happens and then this happens and then this
Yeah,
happens.
especially
And
just because like spiritualism was such a rapid growing thing back then, right? It was huge.
huge.
I love that era. Like I think that spiritualism back then was so interesting, and it's, yeah, I have to do more research on it.
Yeah, I
Read
find
more
it
books.
interesting too, but yeah, like I said, I think there's like actual real people, and then I feel like there's some that really did it for entertainment. I don't know how
Yeah.
I feel about. We had this conversation before. I know we didn't talk about it on the here on the podcast, but we talked about it on our own time about how that show on Netflix that's called. I mean, then this is a show, so it's goes into
I
what
like
we're
that show.
talking about. What is it called? After Death? Is that what it's called? It's that
Let me do a quick Google.
I feel like it's called After Death, and it's got like
I think
four or
so.
five episodes about different topics in this kind of stuff. The first one is about past life experiences. There's one on
Surviving Death.
reincarnate. Surviving Death. That's what it is. Yeah. So if you haven't seen Surviving Death,
Yeah.
check it out if you're interested.
Based on Leslie Kean's book,
It's
Surviving
based on
Death, who
books.
was
Yes.
a New York journalist.
Yes.
New York
So
Times
yeah, there's
journalist.
like the first episode is about people that like literally survived death, like died and then came back and what they experienced. And then there's two
It's so interesting too.
it's so interesting, but there's two episodes about mediumship. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually really liked how real it was because there was a
Yeah.
guy in it who kind of like it showed his journey of like him kind of like going to different mediums, and he definitely was testing the mediums. Okay, so he was like, if you are really here, dad, then tell her this. And there was some mediums that brought up exactly what he said, and there was some that didn't, but it definitely showed the real life aspect to it. But there was a physical medium on this show,
Yeah.
and I don't remember her name or anything about her really. But I know we talked about, I know actually a lot of people messaged me after this episode came out, like after the show came out. And they're like, what do you think about this? And I was like, honestly, bull crap. Like, like I did not, I was like, I do not think so.
Yeah.
But it was, I actually was like, I gotta like check myself for a minute because do I feel like this is bullcrap because like generally like my intuition tells me like that's not right, or is it because I don't experience it therefore it's not right?
It's not right.
Right? And this is
Yeah. Yeah.
discernment
Yeah. Yeah.
again. We have to have discernment in our lives and in our work. So it's like I don't think it's fair. And I think this came about too when we did a live about ghosts and like whether ghosts exist or like maybe they're just we don't call them ghosts, but other
Hmm.
people would. And I think there was a couple comments. Most people were like, yeah, like, okay, I agree. And but there was a couple of comments where people were like, no, like there are ghosts and I've experienced like the negative side
Like
of
the yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And I think we both were like, oh, okay, like I think it's important for us to realize our intention is not to connect to that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it doesn't exist. So we have to be careful about saying that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Maybe it exists for somebody
Hmm.
else, but because
Yeah.
it doesn't exist for us,
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
experience it. So I had to check myself for a minute and go, do I think that's bull crap because I don't experience physical mediumship, or is it more because of the vibes of this person? And I'll be honest, it was the vibes of the person. So I'm not saying that physical mediumship does not exist. I don't think that was a physical medium.
Yeah. It's tough, eh?
It's tough. It's tough.
I've always, have you, oh, okay, bucket list, we're putting it out there. Have you heard of Lilydale?
Yes, and it's on my bucket list to go.
Is it?
Yes,
Can
it's in New
we
York
go?
State. New York State. Yeah. I know,
I
right?
just feel like we should go.
We should go. It has the like highest per capita mediums in the world or something in this one
Yeah.
town. Yeah.
And I think they have physical mediums there that you can go and
And I
see.
would love to see it. Yeah.
I'd like to see it too.
Because what we saw on the show was again probably an exaggerated, dramatized version.
Hmm. Of
And so
what?
maybe that's what we're going ugh about and not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting because
Yeah. I
it
think
was a
it's,
real life example of it, but I was just like, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know.
What was really cool, I'll share really quickly. I think Alex won't mind that I'm sharing this, but, or maybe he will. um,
An anonymous source.
an anonymous person,
Yeah.
so I touch my ring. Um, we were watching it, and there was that. There's the right. I think the first episode is with the woman who is kayaking, or
Yes.
she almost drowns or something happens, like her boat topples over.
I think she was like dead. Like I think.
And she was declared dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And she describes um, like whatever she sees. I forget what she describes word for word, but it's something about like a door, seeing a door, and it's very colorful.
Yeah.
I think something to that effect. But I could be wrong. And I was watching it with Alex, and he had an experience on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying do this.
No, just experience. Yeah.
He had, and actually, he had this very, because he was an atheist, and he had this almost psychedelic experience
Yep.
with mushrooms where he's like, that's so interesting. Like, I really feel like that's exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
What she saw is what I saw, but I was just seeing it. I couldn't go to the door.
Yes, because it wasn't time for her to walk through it.
Yeah. And I was like, Alex, yeah, well, you also weren't dead.
Yeah.
It's like they were.
People talk about that though, like using, I think there's like what's that show by,
LSD or...
is it called Gloop? I don't know, but it's from Gwyneth Paltrow. I forget what that show is. She has a show on
Goop,
Netflix.
Herline.
Goop.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what the show is called or not. But
Yeah,
she has a show, her company is called Goop. But anyway, she has a show on Netflix that has different, it's like, it's not really kid friendly. I'll just be honest. There's a lot of stuff on there that's like, oh, okay.
So don't watch it with your
don't watch it with your kids.
Family
But there's an article about people on her staff, like going, I don't know, to some resort or something, with people, like, you know, like a safe place with people to watch out for them as they were taking like hallucinogenic kind of stuff, and the experience they were having. And I don't know if it was mushrooms or not. It might have been LSD. I don't know. But like the stuff they were describing was also like, whoa. Because it seems like there is a similarity between those kind of stories, but also like when people talk about near-death experiences, which is something that I've had too, and I talked about it before, I think, what that feels like too.
Well, I mean, I was just looking up his name to double check, but Terrence McKenna.
Yeah.
You've heard of him? He talks about that all the time, where you can have, as long as you're whatever safe, and but he's talked about some of these very spiritual experiences that he has, like even going to like other realms, and some of it's like talking about I think fairies and different thing like that, but how it can be a very spiritual experience, and again, not for everybody. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying go out and do it. I personally have never, and I don't think I will. But I just know that I think the experience that my partner had, like when we first met, we had this whole big spiritual conversation. Mm-hmm. And I don't think had he not had that experience, we wouldn't have had this connection in the same way, that talk. And it made him very open and aware. And he's like, it was a big kick in the butt. You know, I needed a bit of a kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was that. And he's never done it since, but.
So is this like something, I'll have to look, I don't know this Terrence McKenna person, but does he have actual stuff out about what it looks like and all that kind of stuff? Okay. Yeah. I will look that up, because I actually wondered if, because we're talking about these kind of experiences and about the similarities. It's interesting because I've been like, I'm a big reader, and I just got a new book last week called Spiritual Growth, Becoming Your Higher Self. And it's written in like 1989. It has a very psychedelic kind of cover. But I'm somebody that like opened up to mediumship and like just kind of like learn, like I always say, like on the job training. Like I often feel like the spirit world taught me. Yes. And now I like read things, and it validates what I've learned from the spirit world. And it's like, so I love that too. I get goosebumps as I say that. So I think they like that. It validates like, if we're all talking about the same thing, if people from all walks of life, all different ages, different decades, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, yesterday, are talking about the same thing, what does that mean?
There's something to
There's
that's what they
something.
were talking about, even on the show, Surviving Death. This, what is his name? He's been studying it for how many years? Over a decade, a researcher, and he says that everybody he talks to,
Has the
there
same.
is the similar, like they have different experiences, but they all have similarities.
Yeah.
They all have, it's all connected,
It's
which
all
is just,
connected. It's
it's,
bigger than our, I think that it's like, this is one of those things that it's bigger than our human mind can really
yeah, oh,
comprehend. And we're not
absolutely.
meant to know it all.
No,
Like we talked about this last
no,
week.
yeah,
But we're meant to be like getting little glimpses, and I think we're meant to be talking about it and bringing this, to be more mainstream, because there's a lot of people that experience a hell of a lot of stuff and they don't talk about it, right, until
yeah,
they feel safe to do so.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
they do, and it's like, oh, and people have so many similar experiences, and I feel like it makes the person feel like less crazy maybe, but also, okay, you're experiencing that too, and I experience that, and that person experiences that, and like there's probably something to it. So at some level it creates this like curiosity, but also like
yeah.
this like, I don't, there's a comfort in it for me. I'm
It's
comforted
a,
in it so much.
what I'm getting is like, it's elevating us, like it's raising the vibration, it's raising our frequency
Yep.
as a collective, as a society. And it's also just about trusting
Ourselves.
that, yeah, you guys, we're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone in this.
Yeah.
We are, you come here, you learn, you do your thing, right? Um, yeah. I mean, I think, and this kind of ties back to what a question that sometimes I get in readings, um, is, I think just because we've left our bodies, our physical bodies, doesn't mean we stop learning. I think that our loved ones
They're
on
still
the other
learning.
side are still
Yeah.
learning.
Yep.
And I don't know if you get asked this, but I get asked sometimes of, I don't feel them around as much.
They're at
Why is
spirit
that?
school.
I think they're at spirit school. And they, like, literally, I was shown that onion image,
Mm-hmm.
that we're in the center of the onion. Okay, the
Yep.
onion has so many layers, right? We're in the center of this onion. And sometimes when we're learning, we're pushing through the layers, right? And so sometimes that we're not, it's not that they're not around us, because I do believe they're still around us, but that the layers are just thicker, if we want to say,
Yep.
right? And they're just learning. They're still around us. They're still supporting us, but they're doing their learning as well.
Absolutely.
They're growing.
Absolutely. And I love this, the onion, like the circular thing.
Yes.
So I'm reading a new book by Kyle Gray, who's like a
Shout
very
out.
well-known medium and spiritual
Yeah.
mentor. And so it's about the ascended masters, but there's a part of in the beginning where he talks really about, he talks a lot about energy, and actually that, from his perspective and his learnings from other mentors, it's not like a hierarchy of energy. So it's not like, almost like this, when we're talking about frequency or like 3D, 5D, it's not like a hierarchy. It's more like a circle. And when you look at like, like the flower of life, or even like DNA strands and all of these things, it's circular.
Circular.
And so it's when you're talking about the layers, I truly believe that we are in the center, like Earth is in the
Yeah.
middle. And it even reminds me of like the universe and like
I was just
the
gonna say the Earth is
planets.
not flat. We've learned that a long time ago.
Yes, but even like, I'm thinking about like the rings around Saturn, and I don't know, like
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's rings of energy, right? So it's not
Yes.
like
No.
it's not like we're moving up, we're moving out.
Yes.
It's interesting.
We're moving out. We're moving out. We're growing the
We're
layers.
growing,
We're
right?
evolving.
We're evolving. Yeah, so I think that's really cool and might be a good place to stop. And I
I was
took
gonna
some
say, wow,
notes.
how long have we been talking? It
A
doesn't feel
minute,
like it.
or sorry, a minute, an hour and 4 minutes. So I've got some notes jotted down of things that were coming to me that I want to talk about next time. Some of them similar to what we're talking about, and when we talk about color, I want to talk about that. So let's let's leave that for next week, if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
And this was
absolutely.
a
I know.
fantastic
There's so much we could
conversation.
talk about.
Well, yeah, we
Do we
could.
want to end on a tarot card?
Yes, let's do that,
Do you
please.
want to?
You pull a tarot card for us, a little bit of guidance, along with our message about freedom this week.
Ooh, freedom to explore and learn.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh man, I have to do more. I want to read more books on. Oh, I love this. See, we're learning and growing together.
Yes.
And isn't that what this is all about?
Yes.
And life.
And I also like that message I just gave about or relayed, I should say, about the hierarchy. I also feel like that about people and even like spirituality. And like, I think that's what we talked about at the beginning is like one of our goals is to kind of bring spirituality back to earth and take the elitist piece out of it. And like, oh, I'm an enlightened being. I'm way the hell up here and you're way down here. And like, you got to try to get up here. And I don't think that's what it's about at all.
No,
At
there's
all.
no hierarchy in spirit.
There's no hierarchy. And so, no, so I'm just like taking that. I'm like, it's interesting. He talked about there was no hierarchy of energy. There's no hierarchy here on earth. There shouldn't be. There really isn't. We're all born in our birthday suit and we all pass away the same way. We go the same place, right? We're all the same. And I think we've just totally lost sight of that. And we,
what connects us. I think we've lost sight of like what connects us.
yeah, there's no hierarchy. There's just levels of awareness.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it's like, it's us kind of like, I know we've talked before, like we've used that Mean Girls quote, like, you can sit with us. It's like, just because your awareness is here and ours is here, like, and I don't think any of us ever get like way out here in this one lifetime. I think that's the ascended masters. Like, that's where they are. That's,
if you do, tell me.
How do you get there? How did you get there? So like, don't judge yourself and your experiences or even your understanding of spirituality. I totally believe in divine timing. Like I talked about, absolutely. I'm in my 40s now. I kind of started to learn more and develop this at 38. It's never too late. You can be 75. It's never too late. No. And it's always the right time once you start to feel like more called to it. Yeah. And I would say anybody that's listening is probably called to it. Don't judge yourself for your experiences, your past, how much you know. The fact that you're listening and showing up is...
It's huge. That is huge in itself.
Yeah.
You showed up today. Bravo!
Bravo! We showed up.
Well, okay. I love the cards that came through. So I'll just talk about the first one that stuck out to me, and then I'll talk about the second one that I pulled.
I'm excited.
Page of Swords. So more swords energy.
More sword energy.
I'm always reminded with the Page of Swords. So. But for those folks that are wondering, I'm using the Shadowscapes tarot card. I really love this.
Ooh, I've never heard of that one before.
Really cool. Like very whimsical.
Yeah.
Fairy-like. I'm always reminded of like, think before you speak. The Page of Swords sometimes doesn't think before they act. And so for me, this is a card of a reminder about that too. Think before you do. And then look at how cool this is. The Hierophant, which is all about learning. Look, it's the tree of knowledge there.
We just talked about the tree of life. Learning the circular staff he has holding up here. So if you can, on YouTube, you can probably see this card. But it's you can also look up the deck if you're listening to it and just look up the Hierophant. Is Hierophant? I would say Hierophant, but I don't know what's right. I don't know what's right.
But all about learning and knowledge. Like it's a teacher card.
And that's what we're talking about.
Because we were just talking about
how cool, right? And how cool your message too with the sword card was.
I was going to say it's
similar
exactly
to
what you said.
Exactly what I said. Right? It's like we might not have all the information just yet. Yeah.
And swords is all mental.
Yes.
All mental.
Yeah.
So
so if you're feeling, so this tells me that I feel like this energy might like continue a bit further into the week. You know that I channeled that stuff earlier in the beginning of the week, but it's coming up at the end.
You said that.
It's just our lesson right now. And the freedom card actually ties into that too, because it's the freedom of giving yourself that choice, the freedom of that to say, this is a purposeful pause. I need to take a pause. I need to sleep on it. I don't have all the answers. There's freedom in that because you're not forced. Yes, there's freedom in that. So yeah, let's leave on that. And as I say
Beautiful
that,
note.
I'm hearing like that song, "Freedom." You know,
I know, I was hearing that the whole time.
Yeah.
Speaking
Okay.
of raising your voice, I have a bit of a cough too. I should get
Yes,
some
there's
water.
been a lot of stuff happening with throats this week. It's
Yep.
funny. I have like, there's a couple other mediums I follow. Two of them have lost their voice this week along with me. And I'm like, what's that about? You know, like there's
Oh,
something there with like, let's like get you to be quiet and zip your lips. Let's have some time to reflect and go in, so you have more clarity.
mhm.
Yeah, there's something to
Absolutely.
that. So,
So
okay,
fun as
guys,
always.
so
Thank you so
fun.
much for
Thank you
joining
so
us,
much,
everyone.
everybody. Have a good weekend.